Hello again, Homewood Patriot fans. Welcome to the last episode of Legends of Homewood Patriots Football, featuring our 15th legend, Griffin Gentry. Yes, this is the last episode as this little summer project of mine comes to an end and we head into the 2024 football season. I'm going to have a short epilogue video to discuss the honorable mentions of players who I had a very difficult time keeping off of my list of legends. It also returns one last time to a discussion with Coach Jones and Coach Gann. So stick around, pay attention for that. But let's get back to the story of Homewood football history. As we discussed in our last episode, the retirement of Bob Newton elevated longtime defensive coordinator Dickie Wright into the head coaching job. But unfortunately, the Patriots were pushed up into a state classification that they didn't really belong in, causing them to endure 5 years of mediocrity. At the end of the 2010 campaign, our previous legend Amir Abdullah's senior season, Coach Wright decided that after 30 years of coaching in the Homewood system, he was ready to move on to other things. It was just time, he told the Birmingham News after announcing his decision. The school quickly hired Doug Goodwin, a highly successful coach with more than 20 years of experience, during which he took 3 different teams to the state championship game, winning one. Lured away by Homewood from his current job at Russellville, Goodwin brought some new faces to the Patriots staff, such as his longtime assistant, defensive coordinator Freddie Lawrence, and offensive line coach Ben Berguson, who had just completed a stint as interim coach at Spain Park. In Goodwin's second year at Homewood, the Patriots went back to 5A, winning a region championship in a 9-2 season that ended in the first round of the playoffs. He then followed that up in 2013 with another region championship and a 9-3 season that ended in the second round of the playoffs. Despite the success, however, Goodwin was never really a comfortable fit at Homewood. Much of that story will likely never fully be learned or told, but it seems that at least some of the problem was that Goodwin tried to keep his football players away from other sports, which was unpopular at a school in which many students thrived while participating in multiple programs. But for whatever the reasons, Goodwin was asked to move on, leaving behind Coach Freddie Lawrence and Ben Berguson at Homewood. Because he had served as an interim head coach at Spain Park and won the 2010 Over the Mountain Coach of the Year award while doing so, Homewood quickly elevated Coach Berg to that same position after the exit of Goodwin. The school soon took the interim tag off, however, naming Berguson the 9th head coach in Homewood history. Helping to create a smooth transition despite the awkward dismissal of Goodwin, Berg retained Freddie Lawrence, as well as many longtime Homewood assistants like Russell Martin and Doug Gann, but he also pulled David Jones out of retirement and back on the staff. Our 15th legend, Griffin Gentry, was on the team during the transition between Goodwin and Berguson. A sophomore during Goodwin's last season, Griffin was the 6'3", 250-pound younger brother of former All-State Patriot defensive lineman Robert Gentry, a member of the 2005 team that had won 2 state championships and gone 15-0. By the way, Robert is still tied for 9th for most sacks in Homewood history. Wearing the same number 50 as Robert, the younger Gentry brother would soon make his own mark. An injury kept him off the field his sophomore year, but Griffin started on the defensive line for Coach Berg's first Homewood team in 2014. It was a solid start for the Berguson era, as the Patriots went 9-3 again, went undefeated in their region, and reached the second round of the playoffs. Griffin, meanwhile, was named second-team All-State, emerging as a star because of how fast he was despite his large frame. In 2015, the Patriots had another successful season, defeating old rivals like Hueytown and Briarwood, and taking down Minor in a particularly hard-fought and memorable region road game that was capped by a Gentry sack as Minor went for 2 late in the fourth quarter. A shocking loss at Walker prevented the Patriots from repeating as region champion, but they still made the second round of the playoffs, losing on the road to an undefeated Clay Chalville team that eventually made it to the state championship game. Nevertheless, despite being a heavy underdog, the Patriots played one of the more memorable games in Patriot history that night, coming up 1 point and literally just a few inches short of shocking the Cougars on their own field. Gentry's Homewood career ended that night, but his senior season saw him bulk up to 265 pounds, adding even more strength and yet retaining the speed that made him essentially unblockable in every game he played. Griffin was a master at getting behind the line of scrimmage and getting tackles for loss, but also at chasing runners down from all over the field. He was rarely seen uninvolved in tackles, no matter where they occurred on the field, whether it be behind the line, at the line, or in the secondary. He was all over the place. At the end of the season, Gentry was named first team All State, broke several Patriot defensive records, and committed to play his college career in the SEC at South Carolina. Today, the Berg era continues, as he has made the playoffs in all 10 years of his time as a head coach. So he's actually taken more teams to the playoffs than even Coach Newton. Meanwhile, Griffin Gentry has just graduated from law school and is working in a New Orleans law firm as he prepares to take the bar exam. I'm very happy that Griffin agreed to take some time away from his busy schedule to help me finish this series by discussing the start of the Berguson era and to express his own appreciation for the Homewood community and the friends he cherishes and credits for helping him on his way to a promising legal career. And so, without further ado, from his current home way down in Louisiana near New Orleans, let's welcome in our 15th legend, Griffin Gentry. Hello there, Griffin Gentry. How you doing? A Homewood Patriot legend.
How you doing, Glenn? Thank you for having me here.
Were you born in Birmingham?
Yes, sir. I was actually born in Bessemer, Alabama, and I moved to Homewood at an early age, probably in elementary school, around the fourth grade.
Which elementary school did you go to?
I went to Shades Cahaba.
Shades Cahaba. A Shades Cahaba man.
Yeah,
Any good
you have
memories
all
from
over Shades Cahaba.
Shades Cahaba?
I think knowing that there was more than one Griffin there at the school, that was actually probably the biggest one, actually, because I met Griffin Walker, I met Griffin Rivers, and then Carson Griffiths.
Carson Griffiths, yeah, a whole bunch
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, so I definitely fit in perfectly. I was
Yeah.
another addition.
Did you? So you went to the middle school, I'm assuming,
Yes, sir.
before the high school. Football aside, or sports aside, what are some of the things you loved most about growing up in Homewood?
I would say that it was really the friends. It doesn't take much to please me. And I was fortunate enough to meet a great group of guy friends when I got there. They were also very accepting of me, and just feeling I was a part of the community.
Right. When did you start playing football? Organized football.
My first year playing organized football was third grade. My first year was playing Macedonia football.
How were you pretty good then?
So, well, actually, funny story about that. So I remember years before well, maybe months before, I had told my mom that I wanted to play football. And, at the time I wasn't ready for her to tell my dad yet because, I knew he would freak out about it and get all excited, as any dad would. And so I told her that I wanted to play football, but I wanted to tell him myself. And, she had already peeped it to him that I wanted to play. So he was just waiting for me to say it to him. And he was trying to get me on the Homewood team then, but he wasn't able to because I had waited so late to tell him I wanted to play. And so I ended up going to Macedonia and playing football for them.
I see. I see. Did you play for at Homewood Middle?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was actually pretty good. I know I had aspirations of being a running back. So I wanted to score touchdowns, run the ball. But I remember my teammates would always tell me that I should stick to playing D line and everything. I was like, I can still play running back, and that was my goal. But I think that quickly died down maybe after like the first year.
So you were on the defensive line from the beginning, but you wanted to be a running back.
Oh yeah, you can ask anybody on the team, coaches from Park League football, middle school. Oh yeah, he wanted to be running back. We had to design plays for him to let him run them, and I throw a fit if I didn't score a touchdown every time.
So at what point did you decide that you would settle into defense and give up running back?
I guess I just started to focus more on one single position,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be more like defense all the way, defensive line. I wasn't the greatest offensive player, I'll say. They would have me on offensive line, and wasn't my best thing, but I shined better at defense, and that was my bet. That was more I was interested in.
So when you got to high school football, your first head coach was Goodwin, right?
Yes.
He never really was kind of a comfortable fit for Homewood for various reasons. How did you feel about him? Did you like him? Enjoy the relationship?
Yeah, I can always speak for myself when I say that Coach Goodwin was a great coach, and I appreciated working with him and for the short time that he was there. I wasn't able to get to work under him that much due to injury, but he's a great coach, great person, and I have nothing but high regards for him.
Did you get to play at for the varsity your freshman year?
I didn't actually get my first full season of varsity football until my junior year.
Because you got injured your sophomore year, right?
Yep, on the first play of the first game against Vestavia Hills.
Jeez. How depressing is that to go through preseason and then for a very first game not be able to play the rest of the year? That had to be terrible.
Yeah, it's everything happens for a reason. It didn't stop anything. If it was supposed to happen, then it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. So that means since you didn't get to play your sophomore year and that was his last year, that means your time as a starter came with Coach Berg. Talk a little bit, if you will, about the difference between the two coaches.
Well, there wasn't much of a difference. They both complemented each other when they were on the field together. So there wasn't really much of a transition to me. Coach Berg was there from the start as well. I was always around him because he's with the offensive line. So, there's always going to be some back and forth banter.
Yeah.
But, I
Yeah.
always loved them both.
What kind of impact did Berguson have on you?
Coach Berguson was he's a very funny coach. I
Yeah.
liked our conversation. We could always go back and forth with each other. I would always get upset with him because I felt like he wouldn't always give me all my tackles. He wouldn't give me get my stats up for me. He'd say, Gentry, I got to cheat, man. You playing too well. So, he was always my great coach out there, and I loved working with him too.
What about any other coaches, assistant coaches, Coach Lawrence maybe?
Oh, I love Coach Lawrence. I go all day talking about Coach Lawrence and Coach Newbold, all my Coach Brown, Coach Poe. He was at the middle school at the time, but loved all of them. Great moments, great memories. I'm sure they have plenty of stories to tell you about me if they were to ask.
Well, give me a good story about Coach Lawrence.
It's so many to go from. I think one of my favorite memories was we were playing against Hartsel.
Your junior
And
year in the playoffs.
yep, we were playing against Hartsel in the playoff game. And it was a sideline play. The quarterback was running all the way to the sideline, and I'm chasing him from sideline to sideline, and Coach Lawrence is in the way. And so when we go back and look at the film, you can see Coach Lawrence pushing through all the other coaches and staff trying to get out of the way so I didn't run into him. I remember when I found the clip, I had sent it to him. I said, "I've never seen you move this fast, man." It was just the funniest thing.
Yeah, well, when you were chasing someone from sideline to sideline, man, you were moving. You got to admit, because I've seen a lot of defensive players in Homewood history, but you were one of the best at chasing a running back down. So I can't blame Lawrence for wanting to get out of the way when you were coming barreling that way. Do you remember your first game as a starter?
Yeah, it was against Decatur.
So the very first game of your junior year.
Against
Yeah,
Decatur.
what were your emotions going in for the first time as a starter, if you can recall?
I didn't really have any high emotions. I try to keep myself really calm in moments where most people would probably be really energetic. I'm not saying I'm not energetic, but I also try to keep calm and keep my composure.
Yeah, right. But what I'm getting at is, having missed your entire sophomore year, it had to be pretty special to finally be out there on the field.
It was definitely a great feeling being back out there. This is the same guys that I played with from the Park League football. So, of course you don't want to play with them. You don't want to be out there with them. And when we felt like it was our time, it meant even more then because I wanted to be there with them and make those memories.
Yeah, right. What's your most vivid game memory?
Most vivid game memory was the minor game, most definitely. When I think about that game, I remember there was like a bunch of piles that would form, and I kept jumping on top of the pile just because I wanted to be a part of the play.
Yeah, that night was really intense out there, and it was a defensive slugfest, and of course we basically won the game with what I always refer to as a manly drive, where we ran the clock off on them there in the fourth quarter, but yeah, the big sack that you had that kind of sealed the deal at the end of the game always stands out to me. But you say you like to to jump on the pile to get in on things, huh?
Just to be a part of the play. But back to the sack though, it's funny because that series going into it, Minor was steady, making progression every play.
Yeah.
And I remember because I got a cramp during that series, right in the middle of it, right in the middle of the series. And I had got a cramp. And so the whole time I'm just trying to, stretch my legs out at the same time, Minor stayed making more progression over and over again. And I'm still just trying to fight my little Charlie horses and cramps. And then I don't know, for some reason that last play right on the sack, Minor snapped the ball almost a lot faster. And I don't think a lot of people were ready yet. And for some reason my hand was already down and I guess I had the better get off and was able to make the sack right there.
Yeah, I remember it well. I had no idea that you were fighting cramps down there though.
So yeah, I was trying to, because I right after we had got off the field, I ended up getting a massage from one of the trainers, just trying to massage my calf.
Right. Well, we went into the very next week. I guess another memorable game. We were undefeated in the region at that point, and we had to go to Walker. They had lost one game in the region, so this was essentially a region championship game. Unfortunately, we got beat out there. What do you remember about that game?
It's one of those games where, it doesn't feel like it happened. We would always play very well in region. We didn't lose at all, usually.
Yeah,
And so losing against Walker, it definitely didn't feel normal. Very quiet around the bus. I just remember how much of a better team we were, honestly. I just
yeah.
remember we were a much better team, and I felt like that day we didn't show it.
Yeah, that was a frustrating loss. But I mean, even though we didn't win the region championship because of that loss, still went into the playoffs with a lot of momentum and made the third round of the second round of the playoffs in a game that still sticks out in my mind, still sticks in my craw. I know it does, Coach Berguson, because he and I have talked about it a lot,
Every time.
and probably still does to you. And that's that Clay Chalkville game. What do you recall about that Clay Chalkville game?
It was a lot of people had us counted out, and I can understand why. We're playing against a
Nobody
team,
thought we were going to be even competitive in
you
that
know,
game.
at all. And I can see, they looked on paper, they look pretty good. They had a lot of great players, a lot of great players out there, a lot of good athletes that some are in the league right now. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people had us written off, and I thought that was perfect. Leading up to it, I thought it was perfect. I
Had
thought
them
it was
right where we wanted them, right?
exactly. I thought it was the most perfect thing possible. I was like, yeah, we need to be the underdogs because nobody's going to expect it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I knew what kind of team we have. Always knew what kind of team we've had, and I know that I can depend on each and one of them, same as they would say for me. And I just had a really good feeling. I felt great. Momentum was feeling good. We were pumped. We were ready to go. And what I just remember most was how hard our offensive played. I
Yeah.
think whenever I
But
talk
how
about
hard the
it,
whole team played, for goodness sake. You guys played your asses off that night.
yeah. But like I said, when I think about it, I think about two performances specifically. I think about Carson Griffiths and I think about Derek Underwood. I thought Derek played the most amazing game that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Dude did it all. And Carson was unstoppable. He had his wheels. He looked like the dude back from Park League football. We were scared to go up against him all the time. I was like, yo, like this is, and it brought it out of us. I just I really thought we had that game won.
Well, we did have it won when we got that onside kick at the end of the game in great field position to go down there and win. And then we get into a fourth and what, maybe half an inch, if that, and didn't pick it up. That was heartbreaking. But we also, if you recall, we also had what, two? We went for two twice, including the last touchdown we scored, and didn't get either one of those. So that's just how close it was. If we got just one of those when we went for two, we would have won the game. So that was just a frustrating game, and I still right now as we're talking can visualize that last play when it was fourth and inches and we didn't pick that up. I could still see it in my head and how frustrated I was about it.
And me and the guys will still talk about it to this day whenever we're together. I always talk about how I should have went to Coach Berg a week before and asked him, like, let me get a goal line play or something drawn up for me. Like, let me go block for somebody.
Get you on offense like you were in middle school, right?
Yeah, yeah, just throw me in there. I was like, Coach, if you need a couple yards, man, let me get some in there,
Yeah.
play drawn up for me.
Well, I got frustrated. I've given Berguson grief about this ever since. I got frustrated that on that last play we couldn't go under center. And like I said, it was fourth and half a yard, several inches. And you have your quarterback go under center, old school, and he basically just has to fall down on top of the center, and you got a first down. But instead, we go into shotgun, which is our normal offense. I mean, we hadn't practiced going under center, so we had to do it. But I've been giving him grief ever since about you got to go under center when we need, just an inch or more. And they've started doing it ever since that game. They've started to be able to go under center. So I think we may have learned something in that game that has benefited us since then, for sure. But yeah, that was a heartbreaking loss. Let me ask you, at the very end of the game, you did something that you kind of got away with that was pretty awesome to see. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Probably a lot of things I got away with. Which one?
Clock's running out. You're clearly frustrated about the situation that we're not going to win. They had an offensive lineman that was probably about twice your size. Any of this ringing a bell to you?
Yeah, hip toss.
Huh?
The hip toss.
You basically body slammed this dude.
Look, it's this thing I used to always do. I don't know. Whenever I felt like I was getting held, I needed them to get off of me, so I would try to throw them off. And then just how the momentum was going, it turned into a hip toss, and you saw the rest of it, of course. We all did.
Well, first of all, you got away with it. You got away with one there. But also, man, that demonstrated your strength, didn't
Yeah, you could say that as well.
it?
Explosive.
So you do you admit that there was a lot of frustration and anger going on when you did that?
Oh yeah, of course. I felt I was really upset because a lot of the problems on the team during that game were self-inflicted. And I
Yeah.
remember I had two penalties on myself for jumping off sides and, just not paying attention, not coordinated enough, not disciplined enough. And, of course that reflects on myself. That's on my frustrations.
Well, Coach Berguson specifically asked me to ask you about that play because he said that it's one of the things that he will never forget in his time of coaching was how you basically body slammed that dude that was twice your size. So, what do you think was your best game of your career? What would you consider to be your best game?
I think my senior year at Tuscaloosa County,
Yeah, I remember that game too.
I just remember I played, technically, I was very sound in my execution out there. I thought my pass rush was really well. I thought I got good production in each series. And, the plays that came to me, I was making those plays. And so I also felt like I was, doing great with teamwork, being able to chase plays that I wasn't involved in. And when I say I was doing great with teamwork, I mean we're executing our stunts well. We're all in sync. Everything was going really well. And so that just stands out the most to me. That everything that I felt was supposed to happen happened.
Yeah. You you lived in the backfield pretty much your entire career. Let's Let's travel back in time here for a minute. If you could go back in time and play any game again in your career at Homewood to try to get different results, which game would it be?
Vestavia.
Vestavia.
Mm-hmm.
Which junior or senior year?
Every year.
Every year. Yeah, you
Honestly.
guys lost to Vestavia every time you played them in your career, right?
We lost to them every year except Park League football. For the championship, we won.
Wow. Why do you have so much hatred for Vestavia? I mean, I like that answer.
If you go to Homewood, Vestavia is always going to be on your mind. You got to win that game, man.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Let's talk a little bit about your recruiting. So you had a lot of schools coming after you, and you had committed to Troy. I think Division I schools were staying away from you because you weren't quite tall enough, maybe another inch, and you probably been tall enough. But do you remember the night that South Carolina came calling?
Yeah, I remember that night. It was actually the night of the Jackson Olin game.
Yeah.
And I remember the coach there had came, the linebackers coach, Coach Kurt Botkins had came there, and he was there for the first half of the game. And my coaches will tell you, the first half of the game, I played great. And then they said I kind of let up a little bit in the second half, which I don't think so. But I actually got offered at halftime. And I remember I was just standing around, just kind of in the zone. And Coach Berg walks up to me and says, South Carolina just gave you an official offer.
Right in
And
the
I
middle of
was
the game, he tells you this.
right, we're in the locker room still.
Wow.
And that's why Coach Berg, me and Coach Berg always got like a special, connection with each other because I remember he would always be ecstatic to hear about good news for anybody. And then when it came to me, he would always, make sure to tell everybody else about it. And so, he was always a good person.
Yeah, so you were originally committed to Troy, and then you got that offer, and you couldn't give up a Division I SEC school, right?
I had to think about it for a second. I had to look at other options still. I know it's just so simple to be like, okay, yeah, let me just take the offer. But at the same time, I felt like I needed to still keep my composure and make the decision that was best for me.
Right.
And I still think it was the best decision for me to go to South Carolina.
I remember that night well because I don't know how it happened, but the word that you had gotten that offer at halftime made it into the stands. I don't know who told who or who what, but it traveled through like wildfire. So that we knew up in the stands that you had gotten the offer, and so everybody was cheering and very excited for you that night. I'm sure that's one of the games that stands out most in your mind, huh?
It is a game. I always say at Homewood, the city of Homewood is always tight knit. And so it feels like one of their own makes it when something like that happens. And so it really felt great to be. It was a great moment. I felt like it was a great moment for the whole city, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said. That is well said about Homewood right there. And this is sort of related to this question. What do you take the most pride or happiness in about your time playing at Homewood?
Like I said, like we just said, just the camaraderie. I could never, if I had the chance to go back, I would. I thought it was the most pure sport. I thought being in Homewood was great. The teammates, the community. These are guys that I still talk to this day. I can call them right now and have a conversation with them. I keep up with all of them, all of them. If you were to ask me or somebody specifically, I'd say we'll pull up the roster and highlight every single name.
They're all you're still your brothers.
Always.
Yeah,
And,
I hear you.
our fan, and I feel like that'll be forever. Our parents are always cool with each other. They always keep in touch with each other. Their kids keep in touch with each other. And now, their kids are starting to get to know us now.
Right.
It just keeps going.
What stands out to you most about your time at South Carolina?
Definitely the game day. Game day was always something fun. I think when I actually started to play, it was even better because, I was getting that feeling back.
Nothing like SEC football crowds, that's for sure.
Nothing like it.
You played for Muschamp, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What's he like?
Very defensive sounded coach. He's very big on details and preparation.
Yeah.
And I think that's also helped shape me and who I am in a way because, I take my preparation serious and I think preparation prepares you for any kind of circumstance.
And so it's helped you make it through law school.
Most
Congratulations
definitely.
on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take the bar.
Taking it in February.
Yeah, preparation, buddy.
All right. Yeah, you know it.
That's right. Okay, now I want to do with you something that I do with Coach every week that I call Nito stats. So I'm about to give you some of your what I call Nito stats. You were first team All State defensive line in your senior year of 2015 by the Alabama Sports Writers Association. We haven't had a defensive lineman make first team All State since you. So you're the reigning All State defensive lineman at Homewood right now. All right.
All right.
During your junior and senior years as a starter, Homewood went a combined 18-6, winning a region championship. Probably should have won two if we had taken care of business at Walker that night, and making the playoffs both times. Of Homewood's 18 region championships, you were involved in three of them. But let's talk more specifically about your numbers. Season statistics. Your 8 sacks, talking about these season statistics right here, prove the point that I made about you living in the backfield right here. Your 8 sacks in 2015 is still eighth all time for a single season in Homewood history. Your 25 tackles for loss, your junior year, 2014, is the second all time in history for a single season in Homewood. And your 33 tackles for loss in your senior year is first all time in Homewood history for a single season. There have
Wow.
been a lot of great defensive players that have come through Homewood history, going all the way back to 1973, and you're still number one for a single season for tackles for loss. That's pretty awesome, man. It's
Wow.
pretty
I
awesome.
wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Well, let me give you something even better. Your career numbers. Your 15 sacks for your career is fifth all time in Homewood history. But here's the big one. Your 59 career tackles for loss, 59 career tackles for loss is number one all time in Homewood history. No one in Homewood had more tackles for loss than you.
Wow.
And essentially, you only played 2 seasons. How's
Yeah.
that? How's that feel?
I'm thinking about that right now. It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty neato, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Well, for those reasons, those are the reasons why I consider you to be a Homewood legend, uh,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
and the most recent one. Now, the last thing I want to do is again something I do with Coach Berguson every week that I call rapid fire. You ready?
All right. Ready.
Who was your favorite teacher at Homewood?
Miss Harvey,
And she taught.
English.
Why do you like her so much?
I had her the longest. I had her my junior and senior year because she ended up sophomore and junior year actually. So sophomore year, she was the 10th grade teacher, and then she ended up moving up a grade. So she taught the juniors too, and I am having her as well. And she actually taught my oldest brother, Robert.
So there was a family connection there.
Yes.
Was English your favorite subject?
Yeah. I know I did say I had one favorite teacher, but it was really multiple favorite teachers. Miss Swift, I know if you watching this, girl, I love you.
You don't want to leave any teachers behind, right?
None behind, all of them all. Most definitely.
What was your favorite food from the lunchroom?
Probably the breakfast food if I got there early enough.
Yeah, I like a good breakfast myself. When you were in high school, not now, when you were in high school, who was your celebrity crush?
Mariah Carey.
That's a good answer. That's a good
Oh,
answer. What was your first presidential election that you got to vote in? Was it 2016? You don't have to tell me who you voted for, but was it 2016?
yeah, 2016.
Yeah, pretty momentous election. When you were in high school, did you have a favorite TV show?
Total Drama Island.
Total Drama Island. I've never heard of it. What was that all about?
It was a cartoon on Cartoon Network, and it was just funny.
It was a cartoon. Did you have a favorite movie?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Oh, you and I just connected on that because I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
Yeah, that's all time. That's always been my favorite movie.
That's nice. Do you like other Tarantino movies?
Inglorious Bastards, and my mom, she really liked the Kill Bill movies too.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great. Yeah, I love Quentin Tarantino movies. The year is 2014. We're going back in time.
All right.
The year is 2014, just 10 years ago. You're driving through Homewood on a summer Friday night. What have you got playing?
Probably some Chief Keef.
Chief. what what kind of device were you playing your music on?
Hey, I had an HTC One. It was an Android.
What were you driving?
It was a '01 Malibu Blue.
An '01 Malibu, so it was already about 15 years old, huh?
Yes. But let me tell you, I thought it was a Mustang.
Yeah, I hear you. We all had bad cars in high school and wouldn't trade them for the world, right?
Right.
Did you have a heavy foot?
No, you couldn't go fast in that thing. Couldn't go faster than that at all.
That's great. Well, it kept you out from getting tickets, that's for sure.
Most definitely.
Where would you have been driving to?
Probably my friend Ronald Claiborne's house or Austin Patterson's place, or they'd be coming to my place.
What was your favorite hangout? Their places?
Purple Onion.
Purple Onion. Was that your favorite Homewood restaurant?
Yeah. Now, in the Palisades at the time, they had a Little Caesars, not Little Caesars, but CC's Pizza. I used to always go there all the time.
Oh, yeah, that pizza buffet.
Yeah, that was my thing.
I bet you could do
Purple,
damage on that pizza buffet.
no, I still do.
I hear you. Here's probably the toughest. Sum up your time at Homewood in one sentence.
Memorable.
Well, you got down to one word. When's the last time you've been back?
I was actually back not too long ago. I think maybe 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good, good, good. Planning to be at there any this fall?
I'll see if I can get some time to go. I'd really like to. Some of the guys are coaching now, so I really want to see them do that.
No, that's great. Are you still lifting weights?
Yeah, I still lift. Not as beefy as I used to be, but still a solid guy.
So I understand you used to power clean 350. Can you still do that, or are you higher than that?
I think the highest I got was 367.
Woo,
And
that's
that was
not
actually the highest out of all the linemen when I was in South Carolina.
really.
Yeah.
Despite all of the trips to the CC's buffet, right?
Despite it all. Purple onion trips on Fridays.
Did y'all go to Purple Onion after the games? Is that what y'all did after the football games? Go to Purple Onion?
So what we would do is one of the parents would have a little house party or house event. We would go over there, basically eat food. They would have food, catered stuff. They would cook it. And then after that, we go
And
to
you
Purple
can't
Onion.
beat the Homewood community, can you?
You can't. You really can't.
So you'd eat that food and then
Go to Purple Onion for a little bit and then end up going back home.
at that point it's probably 2 a.m., isn't it?
Probably like 11. We
Oh,
didn't
I
stay
love
out that long.
yeah. All right. Thank you. Good luck on the bar. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you.